It really shows his arrogance that he can stand there and try to be funny in light of so many very serious allegations.
Someone came in and took pictures of me, and I was like, well, now that this is breaking, I'm not going to feel comfortable working in this store.
The Cosby Show was once the gold standard of wholesome family television, but behind the laughter lurked dark secrets, hidden scandals, and painful truths the world never saw coming. Fans adored the Huxtable family. But what really went on behind the scenes? From shocking arrests to betrayal, from career-crushing choices to heartbreaking tragedies, the cast of The Cosby Show carried burdens that no sitcom could script. What dark secrets tore apart America's favorite TV family? How did these hidden stories shape the lives of the stars we thought we knew so well? In this video, we expose the painful truths that cast a shadow over the Cosby Show legacy. You'll hear the confessions, scandals, and untold moments the stars tried to keep buried, until now. From America's dad to convict. For decades, Bill Cosby was the symbol of wholesome family values. Known as America's dad, he played the wise, kind-hearted Dr. Cliff Huxtable on The Cosby Show, offering gentle guidance and warm humor that captured the hearts of millions.
Hello. Hi. This is Rudy's father. Well, how is the weather in Ireland?
But behind that beloved image was a man hiding a chilling double life. The world watched in shock as allegations of taking substances and indecent assault surfaced. Allegations that would forever tarnish his legacy and send him from the heights of fame to a prison cell. The fall of Bill Cosby was one of the most dramatic in entertainment history, exposing dark secrets that had been hidden for far too long. The turning point came in 2004, when Andrea Constand, a staffer at Temple University, accused Cosby of a horrific betrayal. According to reports from CNN and Vulture, Constand claimed that Cosby gave her medication under the guise of easing her anxiety. The pills left her dizzy and disoriented. And it was in this vulnerable state that she says he assaulted her. It was a devastating revelation, made all the more shocking because of the stark contrast between the predator she described and the fatherly figure so many had trusted on television. What began as one brave woman's voice soon grew into a chorus, as more than 50 women eventually came forward with similar claims of taking substances and assault, stretching back decades. Cosby's legal battle began in earnest in 2015, when he was charged with indecent assault. His first trial ended in 2017 with a mistrial, as the jury could not reach a unanimous verdict.
Bill Cosby, Dr. Cosby, a comedy legend, the personification of family values, but now multiple allegations of rape.
I mean, we're talking about a man who's a humanitarian, a staunch advocate of education.
But the retrial in 2018 painted a far clearer and darker picture. Constand returned to the stand, joined by 5 other women who shared hauntingly similar stories of being sedated and violated by the man they once admired. Their courage helped secure Cosby's conviction on 3 counts of aggravated indecent assault. At the age of 81, the once revered comedian was sentenced to 3 to 10 years in state prison. His fall was complete, and the headlines that once praised him as a cultural icon now marked him as a convicted predator. What stunned many was Cosby's reaction after sentencing. Even in the face of overwhelming testimony and a guilty verdict, he showed no remorse. In a defiant interview with Black Press USA, he insisted on his innocence and said he would refuse to express regret at any future parole hearings. It was a shocking stance, one that only deepened the pain for his victims and reinforced the sense that the man behind the America's Dad persona was someone very different from the character he played on screen. But Cosby wasn't the only one hiding disturbing truths. Even the stars who clashed with him had secrets of their own. Lisa Bonet's rebellion. Lisa Bonet was the free spirit of The Cosby Show, both on screen and off. As Denise Huxtable, she charmed audiences with her bohemian style, independent streak, and fierce individuality. But behind the scenes, her rebellious nature clashed with Bill Cosby's vision of the perfect television family. While millions adored Denise, Bonet's choices often left her at odds with the man who had handpicked her for the role. And in time, that tension would expose cracks in the carefully crafted image of the Huxtable household. Cracks that hinted at the darker energy Bonet later claimed to sense from Cosby all along. Bonet's clashes with Cosby weren't just about personality differences. She was determined to carve out a career on her own terms, pushing creative boundaries in ways that made Cosby uncomfortable.
She secreted to me that she was actually pregnant. She had married Lenny Kravitz. And, you know, I guess Bill had his feelings about that because he was possessive in a way.
One of the most talked about moments came in 1987 when Bonet starred in Angel Heart, a dark and provocative film that included a now infamous blood-soaked love scene with Mickey Rourke. The scene was so graphic that it initially earned the film an X rating, drawing outrage from fans who struggled to reconcile Bonet's sultry performance with her wholesome sitcom image. Cosby, who had strict ideas about how his cast should represent the show, was reportedly furious. Bonet's topless photo shoot for Interview magazine only fueled the tension, cementing her reputation as the Cosby Show's resident rule-breaker. The consequences were swift. Rather than firing her outright, Cosby and the producers reassigned Bonet to a different world, the college-set spin-off designed to focus on Denise's journey into adulthood. Publicly, it seemed like a natural progression for the character. Privately, many believed it was a way to sideline Bonet while preserving the Huxtable brand. Bonet herself admitted in a David Letterman interview that she didn't have much say in the matter. When asked why she joined the spin-off, she responded bluntly, "Because they told me to." It was clear that whatever goodwill had existed between Bonet and Cosby had long since evaporated. But perhaps the most haunting part of Lisa Bonet's story is what she said years later, after the accusations against Cosby became public. In 2018, speaking to Netta Porter, Bonet reflected on the energy she had felt around Cosby during their years working together. "There was no knowledge on my part about his specific actions, but there was just energy," she said. And that type of sinister, shadow energy cannot be concealed. Her words suggested that even without knowing the full truth at the time, she had sensed something deeply wrong. And when the world finally saw Cosby's facade crumble, Bonet didn't feel the need to gloat. "I don't need to say, 'I told you so,'" she added. The tension, the unease, it had been there all along. And Lisa wasn't alone in sensing something was off. Others on set suspected far more than they ever dared to say out loud. What the cast knew. While the world was blindsided by Bill Cosby's fall from grace, those who worked closest with him claimed the warning signs were always there. Behind the laughter, behind the wholesome family image that the Cosby Show projected, something darker was simmering. And though few dared to speak out at the time, one cast member would eventually lift the veil on what so many on set suspected, that Cosby's secrets weren't as well hidden as they seemed. Joseph C. Phillips, who played Martin Kendall, the husband of Denise Huxtable, delivered one of the most shocking revelations in 2015. In a now-deleted blog post titled, "Of course, Bill Cosby is guilty," Phillips shared what many had only whispered about. "You didn't have to see it or hear it to know that it existed," he wrote. His words struck like a thunderclap, confirming what had long been rumored, that Cosby's double life wasn't entirely invisible to those around him. Phillips admitted that while he had admired Cosby and even defended him at first, the mounting accusations forced him to face what he had long suspected deep down, that the man they all called a mentor was hiding something sinister.
I think, like a lot of people, I was really giving Bill the benefit of the doubt. This was not the man that I knew. This is not the man that I worked with.
Shadowy and uncomfortable. And while no one openly challenged Cosby during the show's heyday, many of his co-stars reportedly felt the tension and control he wielded behind the scenes. It was as if everyone was bound by an unspoken rule: protect the image of the Cosby Show at all costs, even if it meant turning a blind eye to troubling behavior. But Cosby's attempts to cover his tracks extended far beyond the studio walls. In 1989, according to Page 6, Cosby orchestrated a disturbing scheme to deflect scandal. At the time, tabloids were preparing to break a story alleging that Cosby had been swinging with Sammy Davis Jr. and showgirls in Las Vegas. To shorten the story, Cosby personally leaked sensitive, painful information about his own daughter, revealing to the press that she was struggling with substances and alcohol abuse.
She turned to me and she said, she wiped her face and she said, "Do you believe me?" And I said, "Yes, I believe you." And that was the change.
The move was calculated and cold, sacrificing his family's privacy to save his own reputation. A source told Page Six, "My editor told me that Daddy Cosby was the source. He ratted out his flesh and blood." It was a shocking betrayal, one that hinted at just how far Cosby was willing to go to protect his carefully curated image. The truth is, The Cosby Show thrived on the illusion of a perfect family, both on screen and off. And that illusion was so powerful that even as suspicions grew, few felt able to challenge it. Phillips's confession, Bonet's unease, and the stories of calculated cover-ups all pointed to a painful reality. That what the world saw was just a mask, hiding secrets that would eventually come crashing down. But while Cosby's deceptions dominated the headlines, his wasn't the only dark chapter tied to the show. Other stars faced private struggles and public humiliations that threatened to overshadow their once bright careers. But while Cosby's secrets were the most damning, other stars of the show faced their own private battles and public humiliation, career crashes, and private struggles. When The Cosby Show came to an end, many of its stars struggled to recapture the success and security the groundbreaking sitcom had provided. For some, life after the Huxtable household meant battling financial hardship, creative frustration, and personal disappointment. The public saw the glitz of Hollywood, but few realized the private challenges these actors faced as they tried to carve out new paths while carrying the weight of their former roles. Perhaps no one's post-Cosby Show struggle became as public as Jeffrey Owens. Known to fans as Elvin Thibodeau, Sandra Huxtable's sweet but sometimes bumbling husband, Owens found himself in a very different spotlight years later. When reruns of The Cosby Show were pulled in the wake of Bill Cosby's convictions, the residual payments Owens relied on dried up. Without those steady checks, he took a job at Trader Joe's to make ends meet. In 2018, a shopper snapped a photo of him working at the grocery store, and the image spread like wildfire across social media and tabloids. While the intent may have been to shame him, the effect was the opposite. Owens received an outpouring of support from actors and fans alike who applauded his honest work. He later told Good Morning America that the exposure was initially really devastating, but he stood by his decision. "You got to do what you got to do," he said, explaining that he chose Trader Joe's for the flexibility it gave him to continue pursuing acting. Sabrina LeBeouf, who played Sandra Huxtable, battled her own frustrations during and after her time on the show. LeBeouf felt creatively stifled, bound by a contract that she believed kept her from doing her best work.
I felt that I had been cheated out of those experiences that people talked about at the actor studio and all these places.
In a 1989 interview with the Washington Post, she admitted, "Working in television, you do not have the opportunity most times to do what you are capable of doing. Having been on the show for 5 years, I have not been able to do what I am capable of doing. I feel cheated that 55 million people a week watch something that is not my best work." Tensions boiled over when producers threatened to withhold her pay if she didn't report to set, even though her character appeared in only a handful of episodes that season. After a bitter standoff, LeBeouf finally won the right to pursue a stage role in As You Like It at the Folger Theater, a rare creative victory in a period marked by artistic frustration. Malcolm Jamal Warner's struggles didn't come during The Cosby Show, they came after. In 1996, Warner landed his own sitcom, Malcolm and Eddie, but the experience was anything but fulfilling. Warner later described his time on the show as the most miserable years of my life. The creative direction of Malcolm and Eddie clashed with his values, trading in the thoughtful portrayals of black families he had been proud of on The Cosby Show for tired racial stereotypes and lowbrow humor. Warner fought constantly with writers, producers, and even his co-star, Eddie Griffin, trying in vain to steer the show in a more meaningful direction. But fans never saw the tension. On screen, Warner remained the professional, masking his disappointment behind a polished performance. And behind those professional struggles, personal lives unraveled in ways more heartbreaking than any TV plot. Heartbreaks, divorces, and family secrets. Keshia Knight. Pulliam, who charmed audiences as the sweet and sassy Rudy Huxtable, endured a public and painful divorce that made headlines years after The Cosby Show ended. In 2016, Pulliam broke down in tears during an interview with Entertainment Tonight, revealing the shocking way her marriage to former NFL player Ed Hartwell fell apart. Just 10 days after announcing she was pregnant, Hartwell filed for divorce. According to reports, he demanded a paternity test, despite living with another woman, who was also expecting his child, during the proceedings. But the drama didn't stop there. In court documents, Pulliam claimed that Hartwell engaged in underhanded and unusual conduct aimed at harming her pregnancy. Though she didn't elaborate on the specifics, the allegations painted a troubling picture. Ultimately, Pulliam was granted primary custody of their daughter, but the ordeal left lasting scars. One of the most heartbreaking stories among the cast belongs to Malcolm Jamal Warner. During The Cosby Show, Warner dated co-star Michelle Thomas, who played his on-screen girlfriend, Justine Phillips. Their romance eventually ended, but their bond remained deep. When Thomas was diagnosed with a rare form of cancer years later, Warner flew across the country to be by her side in her final days. According to People, Thomas, weak but aware, shared one last private moment with Warner. Their code for "I love you" was the phrase "elephant juice," and those were among the last words she spoke to him. Warner described how he said the words, and she smiled and said them back. Thomas passed away shortly after, at just 30 years old, 2 days before Christmas. And then there was Raven Simony, the adorable Olivia Kendall, who found herself the target of backlash as an adult. In a 2014 interview with Oprah Winfrey, Raven sparked outrage when she distanced herself from the label African American.
I'm tired of being labeled. I'm an American. I'm not an African American. I'm an American.
Oh, girl, don't set up the Twitter on fire.
The comment lit up social media, with critics accusing her of disowning her heritage. Raven later clarified that she wasn't denying her Black identity, but trying to reject labels that she felt boxed her in. Still, the reaction revealed how even beloved child stars can face fierce scrutiny as they grow and define themselves in new ways. If these hidden stories of The Cosby Show cast shocked you, like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the secrets of TV's biggest stars. And don't miss our next video, where we uncover the scandals that rocked another iconic 90s sitcom.